Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you doing? Our executive producer, Beth, is back there, and she says, it's 6 o'clock. Let's get started. So here we are. Welcome to Cronkite Live, and this is a really interesting event because we have 4 fantastic alumni, and they are early career alumni, and so we're going to introduce them in just a bit, and they're going to tell their stories. They're going to give you some tips to success as students and how to prepare for the profession. But I do want to welcome you to the First Amendment Forum and to Cronkite Live, and I know this is being live streamed as well, and I want to welcome our audience on the live stream. A lot of you have heard, your story starts here. Your story starts at Cronkite. I think I saw that nice little banner. Have you seen that banner right outside the building? So yes, your story starts this year. These guys and the ones on Zoom, their story started about probably 4 to 6 years ago, because you guys have been out of school for about 2 years. So they were probably sitting right there in these seats during an event like this 4 to 6 years ago. And we also have a slogan that says something like, where will Cronkite take you? Okay, so where will it take you? All right, so keep that in mind. I'm going to tell you where Cronkite took some of our panelists tonight. And I'm going to try to do it in alphabetical order. And let me just get my notes here. So Brielle, are you there? Brielle Ashford. So she's on Zoom, and she's coming to us from Washington, D.C. And where did Cronkite take Brielle? So I'm just going to do it kind of an overview. So Cronkite took Brielle from Michigan, her home state, to Washington, D.C., working in a top 10 market at WUSA-TV, which is the CBS affiliate owned by Tegna. And she's working in market number 7, 2 years out of school. And she's a digital editor, multimedia producer. So, Brielle, thank you for being here.
Of course, I'm so happy to be here. I very well remember sitting in the First Amendment Forum and attending these events myself and being in awe of some of the speakers I heard. So it's a real full circle moment. It doesn't feel like that long ago I was there. So it's great to be back.
And then we're going to have our panelists fill in some of the blanks here. So I'm just going to give you this overview of where Cronkite took them. Next is Adrian Dunn, and she is coming to us from the Washington, D.C. area. Why don't you wave, Adrian, so we know. There you go. Adrian, where did Cronkite take you? Adrian is from Phoenix, and it took her to at least three internships. It took her to some leadership positions at the state press, all the way to the Washington Post for her first full-time job upon graduation. So Adrienne is a multi-platform editor for the Washington Post. You want to say hello, Adrienne?
Hi, I'm really excited to be here. Feel the same way as Brielle. I graduated last year, so it was very recent for me being in the halls of Cronkite. So really excited to talk to you guys today. Yeah,
from what I remember, you were a spring graduate, and then you got your job about sometime in November after graduation?
Yeah, I interned in the summer, and then they hired me in November. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Frankie McLister, he is in person. Where did Cronkite take you? Well, it took Frankie from Maryland and the D.C. area to sunny Phoenix to a master's degree in about 4 years here at Cronkite. It took him to an internship at NBC, a first TV job in Tucson, TV reporting job in Phoenix, and now it took Frankie to working in PR and digital communications at one of the busiest airports in the nation, Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport.
And Friendliest.
And Friendliest, exactly. Exactly. So thank you, and thank you for being here, Frank.
No, thank you. I totally echo what you guys said on the screen. We were talking about just who was at our panel when I was a freshman. So it's great to be back.
Yes, exactly. And then going in alphabetical order, we have in person Millard Thomas. Millard, where did Cronkite take you? Well, it took Millard from New Jersey to the sunshine here in Phoenix and opportunities with ASU women's basketball, Sports Illustrated, and now with the Arizona Coyotes, where Millard is a graphic designer for the Coyotes. He also is a podcaster. I believe you podcast for the Diamondbacks or about the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, about the D-backs. I do a lot of talking on the mic already, so I'm going to keep it short. Happy to be here and glad to see everyone.
Thank you. And then finally, we have Natalie Urquiza on Zoom. Natalie, you want to wave? Thank you. So where did Cronkite take Natalie? Well, it took Natalie, a transfer student, to the state's largest daily in her hometown. And now she is a sports page designer editor for Gannett USA Today Network. And she doesn't just do Phoenix newspapers, but Natalie, you want to tell us what you do for the entire nation?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. And I basically design and edit sports pages across the country. Just today, I was working on Ohio papers in Phoenix, and tomorrow I'll be working on Illinois papers.
Very good. So once again, thank you to our fantastic alumni, early career alumni for being here tonight. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to chat with them for a little bit, for a few minutes, in person and on Zoom, and then there will be some time at the end, toward the end, where you can ask questions, okay? So make sure you have those really good questions, those burning questions that you want to ask. So I'm just kind of curious. Frankie, we'll start with you since you're really close here. Why Cronkite? Why did you choose Cronkite? I mean, you're from Maryland. You could have gone to any school in the nation, any journalism school. You could have gone to, well, I'm not going to name names, but you could have gone elsewhere. But why Cronkite?
Yeah. So I just have to shout out Zach in the back. He's a freshman, and I know him from being in Maryland. So it's interesting. When I was in high school, my uncle is a reporter in Washington, D.C. So when I was in high school, I was always interested in storytelling and news, and so I interned there when I was in high school. It kind of changed my life in a sense. I was there for a whole year, got really close with everyone in the station, even like had a name like Frankie the intern. And there was this Cronkite alum that was a reporter there. His name is Sam Sweeney, and I still would tell Sam to this day, who you probably know. Now he is a producer for ABC News, essentially with Gio Benitez. But Sam told me one day in the newsroom when I was looking for schools, he was like, you should go to the Cronkite school at ASU. And I was like, okay. And so I went home and told my parents, and my parents were like, we've heard so much about that dang school. Like, why don't you just apply? So I applied, and then I got into a scholarship here, Mike, and then I visited a day after there was a blizzard my senior year in high school, and I hiked a mountain with my mom, and it was like 75 to 80 degrees. And then you walk in this facility and learn more and more about it and the connections, and that's why I chose Cronkite.
Thank you.
It was a no-brainer.
There you go. There you go. And Brielle, you're from Michigan. Did you want to get out of the cold and come to Phoenix, sunny Phoenix? What sold you on Cronkite?
Yeah, I definitely did. I was not missing the Michigan winters when I came to ASU at all. And most of my school picks were on the West Coast for that reason. But also, I've been really passionate about journalism since about the 6th grade, thanks to a really caring middle and high school community that really encouraged me, and some great journalism teachers early on in school. And I just sat down with my family and really researched the best journalism programs since I was so hyper-focused on that area. And ASU, the Cronkite School, came up again and again. So like Frankie said, it was really kind of a no-brainer. We were really using our Google research skills because I didn't know anyone in journalism growing up. So it was kind of a homegrown effort, and I couldn't have made a better choice, honestly. So,
thank you. And I'm going to go over here to Millard, all the way from New Jersey. So what sold you?
Yeah, for me, it was really two reasons when I was graduating high school. One is I knew I wanted to go into sports. I just knew I wasn't going to be an athlete, so I had to figure out a different avenue. Number two was I wanted to get away from my parents. I wanted that freedom to be on my own, so I didn't apply to any schools in New Jersey. My stepfather was the one who actually brought up Arizona State to me because he used to live in Arizona for a little bit. It was pretty low on my list, to be honest, when I was first researching schools because I just didn't know much about it. Then after I came out to Arizona for my visit, fell in love with the state, fell in love with the school. It was one of the top journalism schools in the country. And the fact that they also helped me out with tuition a little bit, a little scholarship money, that also was a big proponent for why I came here. But the education was a huge selling point. The scholarship was a huge selling point, and the state of Arizona as well.
And getting away from your parents.
And getting away from my parents, yes. I
All
need
right.
that freedom.
Those of you in the audience, how many of you are here because you want to get away from your parents? Ooh, okay, very good. Very even our staff. Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
What about you?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Exactly. I actually went to Tucson to get away from my parents. Yes. So I went to the U of A. Don't hold that against me, but I did graduate from here. So. Anyways, let's see, Adrienne. So, why Cronkite?
I grew up in Chandler, so not very far from Cronkite, but me and my family are originally from Scotland. And so my parents, actually, I wanted to stay close to them because the rest of my family is obviously across the ocean. And I knew that Cronkite was one of the best schools in the country. So for me, it was very much a no-brainer. I didn't want to leave my family, and it was right up the street from where I grew up. And I definitely made the right decision going here too.
Nice. And then Natalie, your perspective.
Yeah, so me and my family have been having ASU football season tickets forever. So I knew I was going to go to ASU eventually. I just didn't know it was going to be at Cronkite until I got about high school. I started to write, and my teacher told me about how amazing Cronkite is and pushed me to find out more about it, and absolutely loved it even more, and especially because it's part of ASU.
All right, so now that we've established why you wanted to come to Cronkite, let's talk about how you succeeded at Cronkite. So we'll start with Brielle. As a student, what did you get involved with in your first year?
Yeah, for sure. So when I got to Cronkite, it sounds a little weird because I said I was really into journalism since the 6th grade, but I actually felt pretty intimidated by a lot of my peers. I felt like a lot of other freshmen had like TV news programs at their high school, and I didn't even know that existed when I started at Cronkite. So I was really nervous, and I just felt like I needed to hit the ground running. And something so celebrated about Cronkite is the internship program. And that also just scared me to death as a freshman. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get those? And so I decided to start with clubs, which I'd always recommend. They were a great resource for me. I joined Downtown Devil, the Chic Daily, and just kind of really talked to older students, tried to get bylines in and projects, volunteering at Cronkite News. And that really prepared me for those early interviews when I was coming out of high school and didn't have formal job experience. So that kind of kicked off my career at Cronkite, and it did a lot for me.
And Natalie, let's go to you. You're a transfer student. Hello?
Yeah, so
what did you get involved with as a transfer student?
Transferring over from GCC, it felt like I was a little left behind because everyone from freshman, Cronkite, they already involved in everything, and I felt kind of left out. But I went to club open night where all the different clubs that are involved in writing somehow. And that's when I found the state press. And I joined the state press for a semester, and I loved working with them.
Thank you. And I think Student Club and Orgs Night is September 30th, right? Okay. Right here in the forum at around 4 or 4 to 6, something like that. All right, Adrienne, you were really involved with the state press. You probably had like 5 or 6 positions, including 3 leadership positions. So how did you get involved besides the state press?
If you're even remotely interested in the state press, it was the best decision that I've made, honestly, in my entire life, not even just at Cronkite. The experience that it gave me was fantastic, but it's all students that you work with, it's your peers. So I have friends for life from that experience, which was great. But I joined the state press as a part-time writer my first semester of freshman year, and I stayed with them every semester. And for my senior year, I was executive editor. But between those positions, I did community reporting, community editing, and then I was a managing editor for a full year too. And that kind of consistency and the different positions that I had definitely helped with internship applications and things like that down the road. But yeah, state press has the biggest piece of my heart from Cronkite. So definitely recommend if you're interested.
Thank you. Millard, what did you get involved with as a student?
Yeah, freshman year, I'm not gonna lie, took it kind of light, had a really good work-life balance, didn't really get into too many clubs freshman year, so I had to play a little bit of catch-up after my first year at ASU, and basically, I really didn't get into too many clubs. I tried Blaze Radio, but stuff like that didn't really work out for me. It was really stuff outside of Cronkite and making it work through writing for like random various websites, maybe trying to find a freelance gig, trying to find some, maybe a video gig, because I just feel like, I don't know, the clubs weren't something that I particularly gravitated to for some reason. A lot of them were pretty busy, and it just felt like a pretty big time commitment that I probably wasn't ready for early in my ASU career. So I really just tried to play a little catch up after freshman year, and that's when I really started to get into more internships through Cronkite, through their internship days. I started working with ASU football, doing graphic design with them from sophomore year till I graduated. So for me, my first year at ASU, I really didn't take advantage of the clubs and stuff like that, but definitely after that sophomore year, I really started hitting the ground running, and I really tried to take advantage of more opportunities, and I really just tried to say yes to everything. Like, I wasn't big into clubs freshman year, but after that, any opportunity that I saw, I said yes to, and I just ran with it. So really, trying to do as many things as possible. It doesn't even have to be in Cronkite. Just trying to do as many things as possible, I think, early in your career is probably a pretty smart bet.
I got to ask you something. How did you get involved with the ASU football team? Did you just go there and ask them, or did you see something posted? Did a friend tell you about an opportunity?
Yeah, it was pretty random how I got involved with ASU football, because they were looking for a receptionist, but because I had Photoshop on my resume, despite not having any Photoshop experience, they put me in the back to do Photoshop. There's literally me and another student doing all the graphics for like ASU football for like 2 years, because ASU at that time had not put any resources toward their creative team. That's a different story now, but at the time it was just literally me and another student intern at the time just pounding out graphics our whole sophomore year before we brought in another creative lead. So it was a pretty random situation how I got into it. I just kind of fell into graphic design and been kind of learning on the fly ever since then. It's kind of a nice skill to have, because it's a skill that anyone could just go on YouTube and learn how to do graphics and learn how to do Photoshop, and you got Jim Jacoby here that could teach you After Effects. Like, there's a lot of great teachers and a lot of great resources here. If you want to go into a different kind of field that's not just journalism, but you want to stay in sports, graphic design was an opportunity and a passion that I didn't know I had until I came to ASU, and it's something that I'm still pursuing right now and still trying to get better in every day when I'm working on my craft.
Thank you. How about you, Frankie?
I was trying to think. So freshman, I'm kind of the same way. Like freshman and sophomore year, I didn't really get involved in any clubs per se. I think I did do Cronkite Cut. I think it's called The Cut. Back when I was a freshman, for a little bit, just to get me like some airtime in a sense and practice. But I really took advantage of the mentor program, and through just some connections, I had and still have a mentor, Sean McLaughlin. He's one of the evening now meteorologists at Arizona's Family, where I previously worked this time last year. And And he brought me up to that station, introduced me to a lot of people, and then one of those people he introduced me, months later, I even forget meeting him. He reaches out to me and he's like, "Hey Frankie, I work for a show, it's called the Kim Commando Show, and it's the nation's largest weekend radio show, and Kim, she essentially does a radio show all about technology." My dad knew of her exactly. I didn't, so your parents might. But anyway, her studios are right here in Phoenix, and they were looking for a production assistant. So it was kind of my side gig all throughout college. So instead of, club, I found that was a track for me, and I made a little bit of money. Now, I worked up at the Kim Commando Show until March 2020, when everything happened, if you remember. But my senior year at Cronkite, one of my fellow classmates, Lauren Bukowski, her and I kind of got together and we revamped SPJ, the Society of Professional Journalists. So we were kind of co-presidents of the chapter here, and Heather Dunn was our advisor. I don't think I realized when I was a senior how much the job search would take time-wise, how I had my side job and everything. So sometimes I look back, I wish Lauren and I could have started that earlier. I don't know if it's active right now. You should definitely look into it because it's a great, phenomenal organization if it's not active right now and someone is looking to start it back up. But yeah. I just remember the night, you said it's September 30th, you can go around and find what's best for you. And if it's not, for example, my track was the mentor track, got me that extra activity,
I think it's August 30th, right?
Or August, yeah.
There you go.
Got it.
Hello? This is red, so I think we need a new battery. Sorry about that. So anyways, before we talk about your specific jobs, I want to just kind of go around the panel and just ask your opinion about internships. So how important are they, and how involved did you get with internships? So go ahead, Natalie.
I definitely think internships are very important. It starts the connections, and so I internshipped with a magazine company here in Arizona. I'm blanking on the name right now, but I believe doing internships are very important, and it gets that connection, and it pretty much boosts you to wanting whatever you're wanting to do. So if you're wanting to work in sports like I was, it definitely helps kind of push you that way and get you within that.
Thank you. How about you, Adrienne?
I would say that internships are super important too. I know Cronkite, when I was there, really heavily encouraged them. I had 3 internships while also doing state press. I did one at a local magazine. It was like an education magazine. It was a pretty small publication, but that was my first experience with the internships, and it was great. And then I went to the Arizona Republic and did fact checking for them, which turned into fact checking for USA Today. And then USA Today had given me a job offer in that same department for when I graduated. So internships, if you navigate them the correct way, can often turn into job offers, or they can lead you somewhere else that could give you a job in that same, especially if you're working for somewhere like a Gannett paper, they're all connected, which is what the Republic and USA Today were. So definitely as much experience as you can get is very helpful, definitely.
How about you, Frankie?
Yeah, I mean, an internship is kind of the reason why I ended up at Cronkite. So right off the bat, and that internship also started my network of journalism and journalists. And I look back at that internship, it's the ABC affiliate in DC, and how many people aren't there anymore but are all across the nation doing something else. Some are even national, So that was a really great experience. And then when I was a was between sophomore and junior year of college. I interned at the Today Show in New York at NBC, and that was like a whole other perspective. It was really interesting because I was an intern for Megyn Kelly when she was there, and that was just a whole other beast. RIP to that show, but that kind of showed me the national news perspective, and then I had the local news perspective, and because I was a broadcast reporter, I thought that was so important to know. I learned, Mike, kind of like, I thought I wanted to be a correspondent and traveling everywhere until I learned that lifestyle truly isn't for me, which is okay, and that's something I've learned about, learned a lot, but that's what the national perspective gave me that the local didn't, you know? But yeah, the more internships, the more connections, and I'll tell you, every internship I got or job I've had since has been because of a connection, you know?
Exactly. Go ahead, Millard.
Yeah, I was going to say internships are super important, like everyone has said so far, but I also want to add, there's not a difference between a paid or unpaid internship, really, because a lot of my friends, when they're at Cronkite, they were like, I would never do an unpaid internship. And I did 3 internships, 2 of them were unpaid, and the unpaid ones were better to me than the paid ones because I still talk to those people at the unpaid internships. I made great connections there. And some of them have led to little side gigs, little freelance jobs. So for me, I don't think there's a bad internship out there. I think it depends how you approach it and just kind of how you are as a person, because I think most internships, like everyone has said, are great for connections. I think the best part of an internship is the networking, the people you can talk to, because you never know who's going to be at that job company that eventually leaves, and because you had a good connection with that person, they're like, hey, let me hit up this intern who I know worked really hard when he was under me, and let me bring him along for his first full-time opportunity. So I would say don't turn down any internship. Like I said earlier, say yes to everything, because I think that's always going to be your best shot at getting a job.
And Brielle.
Yeah, I honestly can't stress enough how important I think internships are. You know, I've talked to various people in the field. People have their own takes about how much experience you need to get in college, but I can only speak from my point of view. They were absolutely critical for me. And I think if I didn't do them when I did, I would have kind of been up a creek without a paddle, for lack of a better term. My internship opportunities really snowballed into each other. So I kind of got my first big break, how I look at it. I think the first one I ever got was community reporting with the Arizona Republic. I came in thinking I wanted to do print. And so shout out to them for taking a chance on me at that time. And, you know, after that, it just, you know, they kept coming and fairly easily after getting that foot in the door with that experience. So it's something that, you know, like I said, I can't emphasize enough. And I also wanted to echo something that Frankie mentioned. I think if you can get somewhat diverse internships and try different things, your future self will really thank you. Later in your career, it's a little hard to really see what something's like, but internships give you a window into that. Like you can actually experience something, and you never know, maybe in 5 to 10 years, you'll, you know, harken back to that and reflect and use that experience to know if you want to do a career pivot or something like that. So just try as much as you can.
Thank you. Since you're on camera and you have the floor right now, tell us about your job at WUSA. What do you do as a multimedia producer, digital editor in the number 7th largest market?
Yeah, of course. Well, I first have to say that, you know, I feel so thankful to have the job that I have. It's really cool. Just a little background, I was really focused on TV news producing throughout Cronkite. And my first job was as a producer in residence for Tegna, and they matched me with WSA, you know, kind of like a internship almost for people who had graduated, to be an assistant to a producer. And like I said, I got really lucky being placed at WSA and just learning from the incredibly talented professionals that I did. And, you know, they exposed me to the digital team, which I had also been exposed to in prior internships. And I kind of fell in love with it. I really kind of jived with that team. So what I do every day is just write the articles on the website. So we do a lot of breaking news in DC. It's a very fast-paced environment. So working really quickly. Generally, we'll write maybe between 2 and 6 articles a day. So it really moves. And then we edit reporters' work. We manage our social media accounts and come up with creative posts for those. Participate in editorial meetings. We pitch stories. And then at my station specifically, they've given us special days that we can pursue our own projects. So pitch our own stories, go out and interview and write those pieces. So that's pretty much the gist.
Thank you. Millard, why don't you tell us about your role at the Arizona Coyotes?
Yeah, I think I have a pretty fun job, if I do say so myself. I'm just sitting there creating graphics all day, pretty much. So, like, Wallpaper Wednesdays, anything you see on social media, I make billboards around when you drive on highways, anything you see in arena back at Hilla River before they kicked us out, anything you saw up there, I help make as well. So for me, my job is fun because I'm just creating. I get to use, like, my brain the whole day. And I just don't feel like I'm constricted in a box. Like, I like journalism, but I felt like I was always a little bit in a box. And I just get to be a little bit more creative. And those deadlines with journalism, too, just used to just give me so much anxiety and stress me out. So just to be still in sports and work for a professional team has been a blast. Right now, I'm working on rebranding the social media for next season, doing giveaways, flyers, and stuff like that. So graphic design, I think, is a lot of fun. You get to still be creative. You get to still be around sports, go to games and stuff like that, and maybe it's not as stressful as the journalism gig, at least in my opinion.
It's great when you have fun and get paid for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I do
ideal
it.
situation, right?
Yeah. So I don't want to discredit journalism. If you guys, that's your passion, keep doing it for sure.
All right, Natalie.
Yeah, so I explained earlier, I design and edit sports pages across the country, and it's really cool because you don't have set papers. You can have, so like today I had Ohio, tomorrow I'll have Illinois, and on Thursday I'll have Florida. So it's just kind of all over, and it's really cool because you can see how each paper is geared towards too. So like in Florida right now, it's heavy favored of college sports and NFL sports. And in Texas, it's heavy favored for high school sports. So it's just really cool to see all of it. And basically it's all done by teams because we're all remote right now. And so on teams, you'll have a planner in Ohio, like for example, California, telling you this is what is going on the page. You put it on there and yeah, you send it. And it's not going to say easy because there are some papers that are super frustrating to work with, but it's pretty easy. And I know Millard doesn't like deadlines, but the deadlines are pretty easy to meet though.
Thank you. How about you, Adrienne? What's it like working at the Washington Post?
I love my job. It is very stressful at times. I will preface this with that. So my title is multi-platform editor. So I'm basically the last editor on a story before it publishes. There is no limit to what we edit. While I was an intern, they had me editing stories about Trump, WAPO exclusive stories about it. At the time, it was very, very stressful. But we also do print. So I write print headlines, print captions, edit stories for print. And then we also help with the social media and newsletters and things like that. Basically anything that is affiliated with WAPO, we edit it. And we're the last people to touch it before it goes live. And I think the best part is just, it's never a boring job. It's definitely very stressful at times, but I do love it. And it's always exciting.
Yeah. It's kind of funny when you said kick out of Gila River Arena. I was like live at Gila River Arena the day they announced that the Coyotes were potentially going to be leaving at that time. So obviously what I do now is super different from what I did this time last year, Mike. So now I'm just around airplanes all the time, and you all that come through the airport. It's super cool. It's great. It's fun. I love the industry I'm in. I'm the type that I do love deadlines, and that's why I loved being a reporter, and I love the boom, 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 action, action, action. But I'll tell you, an airport and a newsroom has a lot of similarities. You know, when X hits the fan at the airport, just like it does in a newsroom, the offices go the PR offices go just as crazy as they did as the newsroom. So I'm kind of finding that same exact thrill in what I do now. So to answer your question, I'm a half spokesman at the airport. We kind of rotate weeks that we're on call. This week, for example, I'm not on call, but I will be in a few weeks. I kind of respond to media inquiries that come in throughout the day. So having just been a journalist in the community and in fact the state, it really helps because I know a lot of the people reaching out to us, and it just kind of creates that comforting connection. But a big challenge this past year is kind of, for me, is learning to protect a brand. And when we get this question coming in, or where some passenger had this issue, how do we respond to that, and how do we deal with that, and how do we do it in a timely manner and in a professional manner? And if there's a fist fight at gate X this and terminal this, and there might be social media videos, how do we respond as America's friendliest airport on Twitter? So it's really thrilling. It is. I work on the social media at the airport. Today we had a big unveiling of the Super Bowl countdown clock that's at the airport, so you might have seen that on social media. I was at that this morning, and journalists from all over were there, and my old photographer at Channel 3 and 5, he was there. Now he's at ABC 15 though, so it's still that community. I still feel connected, and it kind of has opened up a whole other side of this media, mass communication world that I never would have thought I'd be in, but yeah.
Thank you. So I'm just curious. So you came here wanting to be a TV reporter, right? Now you're doing PR, communications, digital communications. Why did you pivot? Again, I would have never thought I would be here. I thought I was just the type that was like, I'm going to go as high up as I can, as fast as I can. And there were some circumstances at my station in Tucson, that I decided that I needed to leave. And then when the opportunity to be a reporter in Phoenix after a year came about, which I don't take for granted whatsoever, and I will always be grateful for that, I had to hop on that. And so I was there at a really interesting time, actually, because I was a freelancer, but I was working 40 hours a week. Kind of interesting there. But when I was there, a new company announced they were purchasing the station here. So now Arizona's family is owned by Gray. They were owned by Meredith. And so I was there during all of that, and people were worried about their jobs, what's going to happen. And I was like, whoa, I'm the low man on the totem pole, the lowest of the low at the same time. So I need to kind of just figure out maybe something in the back burner in case something happens to me. And an example was, I was kind of told, in this month, hopefully we'll have a contract for you. And then it came that month, and it was just like, well, we don't really know now. And I didn't know any reason behind that. If they didn't like me, that's okay. But also budgeting, you just really don't know in a newsroom. It's so cutthroat. And so just strategically, I told myself I needed to find something else. And I thought of this other passion. Before I went into news, I wanted to be a pilot. And I always said if I left a newsroom, I wanted to be in comms for an airline or an airport. And gosh, thank God Sky Harbor had a position open, and I went for it, and I got it. And I was like, well, crap. I didn't think I was going to be here this time. This job is cool, but leaving news in the position I had was really a big decision, and sometimes I honestly still struggle with it. So I talked to probably this amount of people about the decision, 4 of my trusted mentors, 2 of them here, and then 2 of them in the professional field. And one of them here was like, Frankie, listen, you can always come back. And I will never forget him saying that to me. And so I decided to take it. And I'm 24, Mike, so I could always go back. I truly could. And I'm happy where I am now, and I've learned a lot to just ride the wave, Life is good for Frankie.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we have a few minutes for you to ask questions. So here's the mic. It's a live mic, open mic. So come on up. You can form a line there. I'm sure you have many, many, many questions. Go ahead and say your name and maybe your class standing, what year you're in, and address it to whoever. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Larissa. I'm a first year here. My question is, you all talked about the importance of internships. How did you find those internships and apply to them, really?
Anyone?
Someone else.
Anybody on Zoom? How did you find your internships? Go ahead, Brielle.
I can start. I found the majority of my internships through the internship fair that Cronkite does. That is a phenomenal program. And a lot of journalism schools don't have the same thing. You'll all learn about it in due time if you don't know about it already. It was always described to us almost like a speed dating type situation. You would rank the internships you were interested in, and at the end they would rank you, and you'd usually come out with a match. And it's just, like I said, a great opportunity. I think I got through 2 internships through that, and one was through a family friend. So, it's great to rely on, or I guess it's great to focus on the Cronkite internships, but always keep your eye out for other things you're seeing around the country or even world to see what you might want to participate in.
Yes, I think there's like 4 or 5 events, recruitment days for these internship interview days that Brielle mentioned, and I think there's an application. I'm not exactly sure when that deadline is, but you can receive internship credit as early as your second semester freshman year. It's not the one for graduation, but you can get an internship in the spring semester. Yep.
And the Cronkite Career Services page that you used to send out like every week in my email, that had a ton of internships and jobs on it as well. And I applied to a couple of those. I think that's how I got my Sports Illustrated internship like my senior year, because I saw it through his website. So definitely check that out, because there's a lot of great opportunities on there as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a first-year student. Many of us are here because we're interested in what you have to say, obviously, and learning from you, but many of us are also from Dean Mell's Principles and History of Journalism class. And so my question is, if you could go back to your freshman year or the year that you transferred, what would you do differently at Cronkite?
Natalie?
I would definitely have been involved more and getting more into clubs, because I lived in Arizona my whole life, so I already had a job, and I would have just definitely been way more involved on campus, be in as much clubs as you can. Don't overwhelm yourself with clubs, but definitely be as involved as you can, for sure.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would probably agree with her, because I know I said earlier clubs weren't my thing, but if I were to go back, I probably would do a club or 2, just because if you're able to get into like one of those clubs where like I focus on broadcasting, and some of the broadcasting clubs here, like you're going to be on air, you're building reels. Like that was kind of my biggest issue as a broadcast journalism when I graduated. I feel like I didn't have a really strong reel, and I think being in a club would have really helped that, because those guys come out, they have like hundreds of hours on tape already from outside of their classes, just from being in clubs, going to games and reporting and stuff like that. So I think I would maybe do, Cronkite Sports or something like that if I was to go back to freshman year.
Remember, August 30th, Clubs and Orgs Night, 4 to 6, right here in the forum. And also, too, if you go to the website, the Cronkite School website, just type in Cronkite Clubs and Orgs, and this whole list will come up with contact information, officers, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Audrey. I'm also a first-year student. Surprise. I was wondering for you guys what that transition was like, so your senior year in Cronkite to where you are right now, and if the school really kind of prepared you for what you were facing after college.
I actually answered this for someone just the other day when we had a Cronkite News orientation. I was here too. I think phenomenally. And I'm not even just saying that to endorse the Cronkite School. I'm not being paid up here, but seriously, I went to my first market in Tucson. I was on a morning show at the NBC station down there, Tucson Today, and I will never forget when I was first making a package, like a minute 30 story, and it was just kind of like, all right, go, and I was like, wait, they're not gonna like show me how, but also, Frankie, like I know how to do this, you know what I mean? But there was no like it was just like, you know how to do this? You know what I mean? But she didn't even say, like, you know how to do this. It was like, okay, could you just do this story? And I don't know why I felt like I needed the guidance, because I literally just studied for 4.5 years at the Cronkite school to do that. Of course, there's little things that, you know, the real world gets thrown at you. My first morning live, I don't know, do you want to be a reporter?
I'm not sure. I think
Okay.
we're producing.
Okay. This can relate to that too, because the very first day I was live in Tucson, Mike, was when the Bighorn Fire sparked in Tucson. And is anybody from Tucson? No? Yeah, you know about the Bighorn Fire, right? The whole mountain was on fire. I was new to Tucson. Still the only time I was ever woken up early for a live shot. And I woke up at 2:30 a.m. So I think I got woken up at 1:30 a.m. But that being said, that like nothing can prepare you for, you know what I mean? I always say I got thrown into the fire, literally. But that's just an example of something that the real world will teach you that Cronkite simply just can't. But Cronkite gets this close to showing you the real world. And if you are interested in being a producer, you have the resources right at the top on the 6th floor. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
And start your social media presence now, definitely. Because Cronkite emphasizes that a lot, and that all transfers in to the real world. And then you'll get that blue check. So.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Akia, and I am a first-year student at Cronkite. So I know you talked a lot about internships already, but I was wondering, is any companies that take internships looking for anything in particular?
Adrienne, you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I think obviously this is from my personal experience. A lot of the internships that I had, I was shocked by how much they trusted me right out of the gate with things. I think that would apply to all of them, particularly when I was an intern at WAPO. So I think while you're at Cronkite, before you start an internship, so in your classes or in your clubs, make sure that you're proud of the work that you're doing and that you're building up your confidence, because then when you are in these workplaces, you have, like, you know that you're prepared for these things, like Frankie was saying. You know how to do these things by the time you get into the internships, otherwise they wouldn't have picked you, right? So make sure that you're sure of yourself, and it's okay to ask questions, and that's another huge thing. Ask questions, and don't be scared to say, I don't know how to do this. But have that confidence in yourself and know that what you've been doing has prepared you for where you are at the time.
And I think a lot of time Cronkite students bring skills to that particular position or that opportunity. You're going to have digital skills, multimedia skills, etc. And but I also think it's important to bring to the workplace or to that internship opportunity the soft skills. Meeting deadlines, being a team player, you know, communication skills, critical thinking skills. So if you can package all that, your hard skills plus your soft skills, and bring that to the workplace, you're going to have success.
You mind if I add something? And persistence. It took me 2 years to get my internship at the Today Show. And that just was a goal of mine, it really was. But the first time I interviewed it was for the summer after my freshman year. I didn't get it. And I use kind of personally, I'll go into my personal calendar and I'll go 4 or as many weeks ahead, and I'll just write, reach out to Today Show contact. So that way in October or something, I remember I need to check in with them, you know what I mean? And I did that for the following year. She was like, okay, sure, you know, you must be really interested, very competitive, obviously, and I don't think they would have given it to me if I wasn't persistent, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Christy. I'm a senior. Thank you for taking a question from me. This question's for Frankie. So apparently we have a lot in common. I like your plain socks too. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Nerd.
Were you a part of the original campaign to build the Sky Harbor Friendliest Airport thing?
I was not.
Okay.
That was there already. A lot of people are like, how is that measured? Well, it's just a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
But you go there and you report back and
Yeah.
tell me if you think it's just as friendly.
I love traveling, and I see it every time I go there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a really cool campaign. Well, anyway, aside from that, just last thing is, what's a typical assignment in your job?
Yeah, that kind of varies. It does. For example, today I was laying out a lot of the social media for September, and we still are a little over a week from September. So that's when I just turn my creative brain on and have fun with my job. You know what I mean? Now, also at the same time, I attended a media event in the terminal this morning, revealing the Super Bowl clock. A few other things I could do is update the website. If a department in the airport reaches out, hey, Frankie, by the way, EG's is Tucson. EG's is coming to Terminal 4's all new 8th concourse that just opened a few months ago. Can you make sure that's added to the website? Anything with communications, it's really kind of never a dull moment, but something in my role is I kind of do internal comms and external comms. And I find sometimes I am, have a lot going on, but I also switch my brain and I'm like, that's a benefit because I'm getting so much experience in all types of communication. And that's also I want something to add to is like, I didn't think I would be doing what I'm doing right now, but look at our majors. They're journalism and mass communication. And every single company out there and every single brand needs a mass communicator. So sometimes people are like, you're not doing what you went to school for. I totally am, just in a different fashion. I didn't take any PR classes here, funny enough, but major still applies to it. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure tomorrow will be even a different day than I walk into work. So then if there's a power outage tomorrow morning or if the monsoon delays a ton of flights, then that's a really fun day at work. So.
Oh, yeah, I heard about all those flights.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
A little bit shorter, but hi, thank you for being here. My name is Blake. I'm a freshman at the Cronkite School, and I was just wondering, with you all doing these internships throughout your academic career and also having to take classes, how are you able to continue to advance your career but not lose sight of your academic goals and getting your degree first?
Just about grinding, I guess, and having that kind of mentality, because I mean, everyone who's going to be on the panel tonight could probably tell you that they were taking a full course load, had an internship, and probably still had another side job as well. So really just about hustling in Cronkite, because everyone, I mean, you're all friends, you're all peers, but it's also like competition. And I think it could be healthy competition too, because you're all pushing each other, and seeing my friends do, their full course load and work 2 internships, it inspired me and motivated me to go out there and want to, keep up with them and not fall behind. So for me, I think it's just more of a mentality and a hustle thing, because everyone's out here, everyone's gonna be out here grinding, and it just depends if you want to grind with them or not.
Brielle, do you want to add to
that? Sorry about that. Can you repeat the question for me?
I was just wondering about, with doing all your internships throughout school, how are you able to not lose sight of your academic goals while also pursuing to advance your career?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is hard, but I feel like due to how Cronkite schedules when you start your internships, you kind of learn some degree of work-life balance. So earlier in your freshman year, I think that's a good time to practice that with clubs. As we kind of talked about before, and just kind of get a rhythm down, use that planner or Google Calendar or whatever works best to you to really balance those things out and get those reps before you start an internship.
Thank you. We have about 2 or 3 minutes left, so I just want to go make one last circle here, and we'll start with Natalie, and I'm going to ask our esteemed alumni to give one piece of advice for this group here, and online. Give us one piece of advice on how these students can succeed here at the Cronkite School. So go ahead, Natalie.
Yeah, so just stay focused. If whatever you're wanting to pursue, just stay determined about it. I know it's going to get frustrating. There are going to probably be, times where you're going to want to just be like, okay, I'm done, want to walk away. Just stay determined and definitely find a mentor, a teacher, someone to help you out, and because they will. I've had so many professors there at ASU who helped me out so much and helped me kind of determine what I wanted to do, not for the rest of my life, but after college. And whatever it is that you're wanting to do, just like I said, just stay determined and just don't give up.
Thanks, Natalie. How about you, Adrienne?
My piece of advice would be never tell yourself no. Make sure if someone's going to say no that you make other people do it. And by that, I mean, don't disqualify yourself from internships or things. Sometimes it's obvious that you're not prepared if an internship says, oh, I want juniors and seniors, but you're a freshman. That kind of thing is obvious. But the first time I applied to be an intern at WAPO, I was rejected, didn't even get through the first round. That was my junior year. I had already spent 2 years at State Press. I'd already had internships. I was by all means qualified for it at the time. But my senior year, there was part of me that said, maybe I shouldn't apply because they already said no. And if I had listened to that thought, I wouldn't have my job right now. So don't disqualify yourself from these positions. And that goes back to the confidence thing that I was saying earlier. If you take advantage of the opportunities that Cronkite provides for you, both in your classes, in clubs, and in internships, you're going to be more than prepared for a job after this.
Great advice. Thank you. Brielle?
Yeah, I don't know. My piece of advice to my younger self would honestly be to just calm down a little bit. I was so anxious early in my career at Cronkite, and then when it came time to get a job, and it all worked out. I think Adrienne mentioned this earlier, really trust yourself and the skills that you're learning. And, just it sounds corny, but do your best. If you're really hungry and passionate and you're asking questions and, you're working at it, you will see results. So just don't freak out.
Yeah. I have a poster in my room, not in my room, sorry, in my apartment that says work hard and be nice to people, and literally do that. This industry can be super intimidating and super just kind of judgy, and now more than ever too with social media and all of that. If you worry about that too much, that takes away from who you truly are. It does. And I'm not perfect at that. It's not that easy. But being on a morning show, you mess up, especially when you are done college and you're thrown into your first job. But you truly every single day just have to come in here, just be nice to everyone, get to know the people in this building, because there are some renowned journalists that are teaching you all. One of my mentors to this day, Mike, is Susan Losovich, an amazing, one of my most beloved professors here. She is awesome, total New York, New Jerseyer. But she was a CNN reporter and reported for CNBC. Might not have been yesterday, but she knows what she's talking about. So if you waste time on, comparing you and your peers, because that does happen in this building. It does, and it does naturally, and it does on social media, and then you'll be working for a source or an internship, and you'll be tweeting about it, and you'll get people in your DMs, and that's just the life of a journalist, you know what I mean? But you simply just have to take this brain and just be like, and just keep going, And if you see that one student, colleague of yours that is getting that crazy internship and stuff, don't let that tell you can't, because you truly can. You just have to believe it, But yeah, I would just say literally just work hard and be nice to people. When you're nice to people, it also comes back around because they want to help you. is that way with both, mentor relationship and peer relationship. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, and for me, it was probably two quick, short sayings that kind of go hand in hand, which is fake it till you make it and say yes to everything, which I already touched upon tonight. Because for me, that's kind of how I got into graphic design. It was something I said yes to without any experience, and I've just been faking it ever since, basically, because you just never know what opportunities out there, what doors out there that could, progress you in your career. You might make a connection, one thing could lead to another. You just never know. That's why if there's an opportunity out there that I believe could help me with my career, I'm more than likely going to say yes to it. Whether, when I was in college, whether it was paid or not, I did not care. If it felt like it was going to help me, I always said yes to it. Even if I felt like I was underqualified, that's where fake it till you make it comes from, because if you're underqualified, guess what? You can still learn on the fly. You can still learn on the job. You could YouTube something if you need to on the job. Like, there's so many different avenues to learn quickly and get information quickly. And you can ask questions to the person who's there, whoever your mentor is on the job. You can find a mentor outside of Cronkite, outside that job too. So for me, it would just say yes to everything and fake it till you make it, because you just never know what opportunity is going to be out there.
All right. Really great advice for this last hour. Let's give a round of applause to Natalie, Adrienne, Brielle, Frankie, and Millard. Thank you so much, our esteemed early career Cronkite alumni. Just a couple announcements before we wrap up here. Remember, you guys know the date. It's August 30th, and we are having student org and club night here at the Forum between 4 and 6, so please take advantage of that. And we have something called the 415. This is where we showcase 4 alumni from across the country on Zoom, and we put them in little 15-minute windows on Zoom. And on Wednesday, September 14th at 5 p.m., we are going to hear from Michelle Price. She's a national political reporter for the Associated Press. Martha Maurer, she's the assistant program director, news director at KTAR Radio, Arizona Sports. Brandon Garcia, he's in Las Vegas. He's the production manager for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC. And we are going to also hear from Lindsay Kupfer. She's the deputy editor for Page 6 for the New York Post, which is kind of entertainment, gossipy type of news. So please join us for the 415 on Zoom, and we'll send something out to the student body to sign up for that. So thank you so much for being here, and enjoy the rest of your evening.